All right, back with another tier rankings here. A lot to get into, kind of a crazy week, so we'll see where some of these teams end up. Let's just get into it. You know how tier rankings work. Let's start off, as always, with the Titans, just because that's how it happens to be first on the list. I put them in scrappy in the past. I thought, like, with Mason Rudolph, they do have some pieces. No, this is a bad football team. I mean, listen, Lions are a good team. No shame in even getting beaten badly by the Detroit Lions. But, I mean, how they lost were Jared Goff threw for, 85 yards in that game, and they still gave up 50? Like, that just can't happen. We'll talk about the Lions when we get there, but, yeah, that was tough. The Miami Dolphins, who they were in bad last week because I said, hey, I don't know when Tua is going to get back. They're playing bad with Tyler Huntley out there, so that's where I'll put them. Obviously, they're a lot better with Tua. Tua was very good. I still can't put them all the way in feels like playoffs, but I don't know. Is it crazy to put them in solid? I thought they had a good performance here. They definitely let the game slip away from them, and again, we'll talk about Arizona when we get there, but I think solid with Tua feels like a fair placement as of right now. Then we have the Jets, which, like, wow, where do I put them? I thought it was harsh putting them in scrappy last week, and then they go and lose to the worst team in football. They only have 2 wins. The one thing I would say is, like, they've been playing all these games close, even, like, they nearly beat Buffalo, right? Like, they've been playing close enough games. I'll keep them in scrappy for now. Maybe it's just buying into the hype, but they're still in the second worst tier. I'm not buying into it that much. What a mess the Jets are right now. I have a whole film study coming out later today about that and about all the issues they have offensively. But if they can clean some of it up, maybe it'll be okay. I don't know. Their coach, it's not going good for them. The Bengals, who I had been every week, I feel like the most criticism I've been getting is by being high on the Bengals, who clearly, had issues, and I'm saying, yeah, but they got Joe Burrow. Well, quarterback can't do it alone. All right, I'll take the L. That was a bad job by me. I'll still put them in solid for now. Again, I think that's fair. I don't think I'll get much pushback from that. Got a superstar quarterback, got a couple superstar receivers, just not a lot else, unfortunately for them. The Cleveland Browns, who they're a tough team to figure out where I put them in because we only have a one-game sample size with Jameis Winston. That being said, they beat one of the best teams in football, I think, with Jameis Winston. So, like, I think this is an all right team. I'm going to put them in solid. Again, yes, there's issues, but I think a lot of the issues are cleaned up when you don't have, like, the worst quarterback I've ever seen playing. So, like, yeah, I think that helps. They're a team that preseason I predicted to make the playoffs. Obviously that's probably out of the question at 2-6, but I don't know, they feel like an all right team. So every team is solid so far. Not the Jaguars, who I'm going to keep in scrappy. Again, competitive losses feels like it's their thing, right? They keep competing and losing in these games. Lawrence, another mostly good performance against a pretty good defense in the Green Bay Packers. We'll talk about them more in a second, but yeah, not a ton of new information with Jacksonville, I think, in this game. Detroit, who, again, what a weird game. Obviously, I mean, you kill a team like that and you were already in Super Bowl contenders, you're staying there. What a weird game. But this is the good thing about the Lions. And while some Lions fans get annoyed at me because I often say that I think Jared Goff is like a tier 2 quarterback instead of a tier 1 quarterback, and sometimes I've been harsher than that even, which is probably why you guys are rightfully annoyed at me sometimes. But the whole point, what I really mean about the Lions is that I don't think they rely on Jared Goff, and I think that's a good thing. I think the fact that they can have a game where he's not even really needed and they score 50 points, like, it's not like they didn't have him throw because it wasn't working. They just, like, why have him throw? Like, things are going well. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was a really just great team win by the Detroit Lions, and Goff in his 15 passes looked solid. Like, he didn't have to do anything. So yeah, they're Super Bowl contenders, of course. You didn't have the Minnesota Vikings, who I said, hey, one loss against a really good team, I'm not going to drop you out of Super Bowl contenders. Well, now they have 2 losses, and the Rams are a good team. And listen, Matthew Stafford is capable of getting hot, but defense back-to-back weeks just looked underwhelming. It is what it is. And again, two really good teams. I mean, the Rams with Nakua and Kupp are a different team, but it's not for me to drop them a tier. They're in dark horse. They can absolutely climb back up the Super Bowl contenders. It can happen, but I think that's reasonable at this point to drop them down a tier. Tampa Bay, who I had in the past put them in the dark horse tier. I mean, obviously that can't happen, right? I mean, that's just like, no way are they in the dark horse tier. Again, it's worth mentioning last week I did that. That was before the Monday night game. So definitely not there. I don't know if, they're not feels like playoffs either. I think solid is another right tier for them right now. They can run the ball well. Baker Mayfield, I think, is still playing well, although has thrown too many interceptions these past couple of games. And Mike Evans will be back before too long. But with how bad this defense is, I mean, solid might be a bit optimistic. But again, we'll see if they can turn things around. The 49ers win a game against the Cowboys. It ended up being a lot closer than we thought it was going to be. They kind of had one and then all of a sudden didn't. Can I keep putting teams into solid tier? I had them into solid tier last week, but I don't know. I feel it's weird. They're such a weird team, right? Like, this defense didn't play particularly great, but it had some real good moments last week yesterday, I should say, against the Cowboys. It had the, I think Purdy made some mistakes, but played pretty well. Kittle's getting going. I'll put them in feels like playoffs for now. I could get talked out of that. I could get talked down to solid, but that's where I'm putting them right now. Falcons also feels like playoffs team. I still think their defense gives up a bit too much, but it can make plays. We saw that in this game. Jesse Bates is a huge playmaker. AJ Terrell had an interception as well. So you get those things going. That certainly helps. Want a bit more consistency out of that defense, though. And then, Kirk Cousins, hey, if he could play against Tampa Bay 17 games, he'd win MVP unanimously, right? He still is a bit of an issue with the Falcons when Cousins is pressured and Chris Lindstrom getting hurt. That could be a thing that's concerning. But yeah, I mean, they're already, in a good spot now with a game cushion and a tiebreaker against Tampa Bay. So they feel like a playoff team. Baltimore, who was also a Super Bowl contender in that tier last week. Do I keep them there? They lost to the Browns. Yes, I keep them there. I know that, as I said, I think the Browns are a solid team. It's a divisional matchup. I thought Baltimore played pretty well. No Marlon Humphrey in that game. I'm going to keep them there for now. Again, you usually have to have back-to-back losses to get taken out of Super Bowl contenders tier unless you were just barely in there. They were easily in there last week. I'm not going to... I think it'd be an overreaction to take them out. The Bears, I don't think it's an overreaction to drop them a tier. They feels like playoffs. I think putting them in solid feels like a fair reaction to that game. Because, again, the offense just didn't get work. And Washington's defense has played a lot better as of late. But that's still a defense you can pass on. And they weren't able to pass on it until the end when Williams did make a couple of really nice plays. You need more consistency out of that. Their defense is good. The Bears' defense is still very good. They can certainly get into the playoffs, but do they feel like, oh yeah, they're a playoff team? Not right now, to me at least. So that's why I have them there. Next up is the Dallas Cowboys, who, again, seems like the story of their season is they get down in a big way, but then start to slowly climb back up, only for them to fall short at the end. Happened again. They were able to make it a one-score game and get the ball, and then Prescott just had his worst drive of the game in that situation. Couple of bad plays by Prescott, who I still think played pretty well, but yeah, I mean, we know who Dak is. He's a solid quarterback. He's not a superstar quarterback, but plays for the Cowboys. They're too reliant on two good players, Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but that's really all they are right now. Finding ways to get back into the game, but yeah, I don't know. I had them in scrappy last week. I think I'm going to keep them there. You could talk me into solid, but they're not much higher than that, I think. So, yeah. Texans, I thought Stroud made some real nice plays in this one. Maybe a little bit closer than you would like against the Colts, but they're still a dark horse contending team. Definitely a team that could win the Super Bowl. There's a lot of good stuff here. Again, that turnover sucked, the long touchdown. I felt like they kind of could have coasted to victory had that not happened, but they were able to rally and still pull off the victory against the Colts, who are the next team on the list, which, This team is frustrating because, like, they've found ways to win games so far last season and this season, but I still don't love this defense of the Colts. Anthony Richardson, he's just not playing good football. I mean, like, he can make splash plays, and he made some in this game, but, like, has there really even been a game where the good has outweighed the bad? I guess the first week against Houston, that was kind of the game you look at and say, like, that's what you want to see, and even that wasn't ideal. Making some bad plays out there. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think. I'm not going to put them in bad just yet. I'll keep them in scrappy, but I could be talked into bad right now. I think with Flacco, they're better. They're probably like a solid team with Flacco. But yeah, for now, Richardson, or maybe just Richardson can turn it around. He's still young. He was a project when he was drafted. He's playing like a project now. It is what it is. Then we have the Rams, who are a tough team to figure out. I mean, I put them in I put them in scrappy last week. I think I'm going to bump them up to solid. Can I put them higher than that? I still don't love this defense, but it did play all right, I guess. I mean, 20 points in 8 possessions isn't ideal defensively, but it was enough to win because their offense played great. Nakua and Kupp do change this team, so I don't know. I need more information from the Rams before I can put them too much higher. Only 2 teams were in the solid tier last week. Now there's a bunch of teams. I don't know what happened here, but every team that was a tier above or a tier below has, moved into the solid tier, weirdly. The Chargers, I put them in feels like playoffs last week. That was before their Monday night loss, so they lost that game, but then won a game today. So I'm going to kind of split the difference and keep them in feels like playoffs. They still, do the things well that they do well. Herbert's still a very good quarterback, being very efficient. They're a well-coached team. Defense is playing really good football. Yeah, feels like playoffs feels fair for me. The Raiders, who, again, They played the Chiefs tough, so I'll give them credit for that. It's kind of what they always do, but still, I mean, the game was like, they get that turnover, they're at the 1 yard line, all they need is to punch it in and take the lead, and then they can't score, go for it on fourth, don't get it, Chiefs get the ball back. That was kind of it. They're just not a good football team. They're not. Minshew played all right in this game, but he still had a bad fumble. Like, it is what it is. So, yeah, there's that. Then there's Washington, who I'm really interested in. So they kind of let that game slip through their fingers and then ultimately found a way to still win it with the Hail Mary. They really had that game won. The red zone could have been a little bit better. This is twice now they've had a game be competitive due to simply not being able to score a single touchdown and just having death by field goals. The Giants game was the other example of this. But I still like this offense, and if this defense is playing better, like, you could talk me into dark horse. I'm not going to go there just yet. I'm going to keep them feels like playoffs because I want to see it a little bit more, and they did almost lose to a team in the Bears, who I have in the solid tier. So, that's how I'm feeling right now. But yeah, they're a good team. They really are, I think. The Chiefs are a team that I'm going to put in the Super Bowl contenders tier. Do I need to explain why? No, but again, they keep winning. Sure, they're not looking dominant in all these games, but again, like, what are you supposed to do? Win 40-0 every time? Like, they're winning. Their defense is so good. It's unreal. It might be underrated how good this Chiefs defense is right now. It's really good, and you got Mahomes on the other side. That's a winning combination. The Saints, who kept that game somewhat competitive against the Chargers, ultimately kind of fell off a cliff. They're going with Jake Haener now. Put them in a bad tier last week. Again, it sucks. This is a team that, on paper, could have been I put them in a dark horse, or I don't think I had a dark horse tier yet, but I put them in the second highest tier early on this season. The injuries suck. It is what it is. I'm going to say it every week. They'd be higher if there wasn't for injuries, but it is what it is. Giants, who they play tomorrow night, so had them in a bad tier. I'm going to keep them there. And while I'm on it, Steelers also have not played yet. I put them in a dark horse tier, which was a hot take last week, I have to say. Maybe I'd rethink that, but going to keep it there for now. And then the Eagles, who all of a sudden, Eagles defense playing a lot better. They were able to limit Joe Burrow, which not many teams can say that. And then, Hurts in this offense looked great, I thought. It's like Saquon Barkley was awesome. It was Devonta Smith with the key play in this one, but A.J. Brown still, made plays happen. And it's like, we can sit here and say they're A.J. Brown dependent all we want. They have A.J. Brown, and as long as they have him in the playoffs, they'll be all right. I've been lower on the Eagles at points. I've been higher on the Eagles at points as well. But them, similar to Washington, I'm like, do I put them in the dark horse tier? And I think the answer is yes. I think I do put the Eagles in dark horse tier, which makes me wonder if I should put Washington there as well. Maybe. But again, Eagles coming off a huge win. This is where I'm going to keep it for now. We'll see if that changes, if I want to bump Washington up next week. But for now, that's where I'm putting them. Broncos, I think I'm just going to keep in the solid tier. Again, there's things they do really well. This defense is great. They blew out the Panthers. You're supposed to blow out the Panthers. I'm not going to take too much away from that. Had them in a solid tier last week. Going to keep it here as well. The Green Bay Packers, so my thought was like, you know what? I think I'm going to put them in the dark horse tier. They've been playing really good football. I think I'm going to bump them up. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I forgot I did that last week. They're already in the dark horse tier. So, yeah, I'm not going to put them in the championship contenders tier just yet. But defense playing a lot better. Even without like Jordan Love, having Malik Willis come in, they're still winning games. I think what would bump them up a tier is if Jordan Love comes in and looks like second half of last year Jordan Love. Then they're like Super Bowl contenders. But for now, dark horse feels fair. Panthers are a bad team. I think that even like Sean Payton after the game was like, oh yeah, the Panthers stunk. Like I don't even give our defense credit. It's like, oh, okay. I'm only exaggerating a little bit in what he actually said there. So yeah. The Cardinals, who, again, the Cardinals are so frustrating because I've said this before where it's like every time the Cardinals lose, you're like, why did I believe in this team? Clearly, this is not a great team. This is a flawed roster. What was I thinking? And every time they win, I'm like, clearly I'm an idiot. Why would I ever doubt this team? Look at their awesome pieces that they have. Why did I think this team wouldn't be a playoff team? Like, I cannot figure this team out. So they're going to be with everyone else. They're into solid tier as of right now. I had them in scrappy last week. That feels way too low this week. But then they might lose by a million next week. They're so up and down. I think they're going to improve. I think they'll be in a higher tier in the future list. That's my guess. I could be wrong. But as of right now, I don't know. Again, I'm buying in once again. Once again, I'm buying in, and the second I buy in, they lose the next week. So sorry, Cardinals fans. But yeah, now I'm back on the Cardinals hype train. We'll see if it continues. I feel like I'm closer to putting them in the feels like playoffs, but I can't do it just yet, just because they have been up and down this season. Next up is the Buffalo Bills, who part of me does want to put them all the way up in the Super Bowl contenders tier because they did crush the Seahawks, who are a pretty solid team. Do I consider putting them on that level? I guess I'm conflicted because they did have those couple of bad games in here, but sure, why not? Bills make the Super Bowl contenders tier again. Their defense has found something here and being able to crush the Seahawks. Yeah, that feels right. 3 AFC teams in the Super Bowl contenders tier. Only 1 NFC team. Spoiler alert, the Seahawks do not make the Super Bowl contenders tier. Where do I put the Seahawks? Well, they were in feels like playoffs last week. I can't put them there this week. I don't think that was a tough loss. So again, this happened last year at one point where I had every team in like the middle tier. Like, I don't know. These teams all kind of feel bunched up. Like, I could maybe talk myself into moving 1 or 2 of them around, but like that kind of feels right for most of these teams. Patriots are not going to be there. Hey, big win against the Jets, but they're still a bad football team in my opinion. So yeah. That is the tier list. That is the tier list for week 8. We're nearly halfway done with the football season, which is a bummer to say. But there's still playoffs, so not really halfway done. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.